sweet like a buttercup. You're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till I get enough.
Okay, so today we're going to be taking a deep dive into some drama in the world of sports media.
Yeah.
We've got accusations, departures, and maybe even a little bit of score settling. All the ingredients for a good deep dive, right?
Oh, yeah.
Our main source today is going to be an article on Athlon Sports.
Okay.
And this article is about a lawsuit that was filed against Skip Bayless and Joy Taylor.
Two big names.
Two very prominent figures over at Fox Sports. And this lawsuit was filed by a former hairstylist at the network. Her name is Shannon Sharpe.
Okay.
And she's alleging some pretty serious misconduct.
Misconduct.
And this article, it doesn't actually get into the specifics of what constitutes, sexual misconduct and harassment in this particular case.
Yeah.
But it's safe to say that these are very serious allegations that could have far-reaching consequences.
Absolutely. And it really kind of paints a picture of maybe a toxic environment at Fox Sports.
Yeah.
And it raises some questions about, the culture there.
Right. Now, to add another layer to this already complicated situation, this lawsuit also mentions Shannon Sharpe.
Oh.
Skip Bayless's former co-host on Undisputed.
Okay, so now we're adding a former co-host into the mix.
This is where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
Now, it's important to point out that Sharpe isn't actually accused of any wrongdoing.
Right.
In this lawsuit, he was simply mentioned.
Gotcha.
But that hasn't stopped media outlets from plastering his name all over the headlines.
Oh, so they're using his name just for clicks.
Yeah, and Sharpe actually addresses this in his response to this whole situation.
Okay.
He addresses this head-on his show, Nightcap, and he basically calls out the media for trying to use his name just for clicks and views, even though he's not involved in this lawsuit.
It's kind of an interesting situation, right? Because, how much does Sharpe actually have to do with this whole thing?
Yeah.
But it's fascinating how it just gets tied in, right? And then you have this history between him and Skip Bayless. They had that falling out that was very public that led to Sharpe's departure from Undisputed back in 2023.
Right. Yeah, and their split, it wasn't exactly amicable.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It stemmed from a comment that Bayless made on air that Sharpe perceived as really disrespectful.
Oh, wow.
Towards his incredible NFL career.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a guy who went from a 7th-round draft pick to a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, absolutely. A legend.
Yeah.
That's a true underdog story.
Right.
So I can imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine he'd be pretty sensitive to anyone trying to downplay his achievements.
And Sharpe actually said, in his own words, you can say I'm loud, you can say I'm obnoxious, you can say I'm arrogant.
Right.
But to try to poo-poo my career, a 7th-rounder that started out on special teams and played so well that I got into the Hall of Fame, to try to minimize that was disheartening for me.
Wow, he's got a point.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you consider this history between Sharpe and Bayless, it makes you wonder if there's an element of, well, let's just say satisfaction on Sharpe's part.
Yeah.
That Bayless is now the one facing some serious allegations.
That's kind of I don't know. I feel like that's getting into the weeds a little bit.
Yeah.
Sharpe is understandably frustrated.
Yeah.
But I think it's really important for us to keep the focus on, what these allegations mean for Bayless. And also, of course, keeping Shannon Sharpe and what she's alleging front and center.
Yeah, her story deserves to be heard and taken seriously.
Exactly.
It's easy to get caught up in the drama, with these big personalities.
Right.
But we can't lose sight of the fact that this is about, potential harm that may have been caused.
Absolutely.
Now, moving on to the career updates mentioned in this article.
Okay.
Sharpe seems to be thriving since his move over to ESPN. He's appearing on First Take, and he's hosting his own YouTube show, Nightcap.
Yeah, he seems to be doing really well for himself over there.
Meanwhile, Bayless left Fox Sports in August 2024.
Oh.
But this was before the lawsuit became public knowledge. So it makes you think, right? Was it purely coincidental, or were there other factors at play?
Yeah, that timing is definitely suspicious.
And the article does encourage readers to go and delve deeper into the details of the lawsuit.
Okay.
On their website if they're interested.
So there's more to uncover.
There's more to this story, for sure.
It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, definitely a multi-layered situation.
But before we dive deeper into all of that, I think it's worth taking a step back and really unpacking what we've learned so far.
Right, what does this all mean?
Yeah, what are the bigger implications here?
Yeah.
We've got this lawsuit alleging serious misconduct, a former co-host whose name keeps getting dragged into the headlines, and career moves that might or might not be connected to the controversy.
Right.
It's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, it is.
A lot to unpack.
And I think it's important for us to acknowledge the potential impact this could have on everyone involved.
Right.
We're talking about reputations, careers, and potentially even legal ramifications.
Absolutely.
So let's start with Nushin Faraji.
Yeah.
Her courage in coming forward with these allegations can't be understated.
Mm-hmm.
It's never easy to speak out against powerful figures, especially in a high-profile industry like sports media.
Right. And especially considering everything that could happen, after you say something.
Right.
It could be career-ending.
Yeah.
It could be really damaging.
And her allegations, if proven true, could have a significant impact on Skip Bayless's career and reputation.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's important to reiterate, he is innocent until proven guilty.
Right, of course.
But the nature of these accusations is serious and will undoubtedly have consequences.
Yeah, even if he is ultimately cleared of any wrongdoing, just having these accusations out there, the damage to his public image could be really difficult to repair.
Right, and that brings up the whole concept of due process.
Exactly.
It means that everyone, regardless of their fame or position, is entitled to a fair legal process before any judgments are made. Now, it's also worth considering the impact this situation could have on Joy Taylor.
Yeah.
Who's also named in this lawsuit.
Right. She's a rising star in sports media.
Yeah.
And these allegations could really derail her career.
Yeah, and it highlights how interconnected these types of accusations are.
Right.
Even if someone isn't directly accused of wrongdoing, their association with those who are can have serious consequences.
Yeah, guilt by association is a real thing.
And it's a stark reminder of how quickly reputations can be tarnished, especially in the age of social media, where information spreads like wildfire.
Oh, absolutely.
And then we have Shannon Sharpe, who even though he's not accused of anything, he still finds himself caught in the crossfire.
It's kind of crazy how that happens.
It's almost like he's become a cautionary tale of how difficult it can be to disentangle yourself from a past relationship.
Yeah.
Especially when it's played out so publicly.
You're right. It highlights the power dynamics at play within the media. These outlets, they often prioritize sensationalism over nuance, especially when it comes to stories involving, big names and controversy.
It's all about grabbing those headlines and getting those clicks.
Yeah.
Even if it means potentially harming someone's reputation in the process.
So with all these interconnected threads, what do you think the long-term implications might be for the individuals involved and also for the sports media industry as a whole?
It's hard to predict the exact outcome of this lawsuit.
Yeah.
It could go to trial or there could be a settlement. Either way, it's likely to be a lengthy and potentially damaging process for everyone involved.
Yeah, we could see further career shifts, changes in programming, maybe even network-wide policy revisions.
And beyond the immediate fallout, I think this case has the potential to spark some much-needed conversations about workplace culture and accountability in sports media.
Absolutely. It could force networks to take a hard look at their policies regarding harassment and misconduct, and it could empower other people who have experienced similar situations to come forward.
Right. It could be a catalyst for positive change, both within Fox Sports and the broader industry.
For sure.
It's a pivotal moment.
Yeah, it really is.
But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's circle back to the lawsuit itself.
Okay.
Are there any specific details from the Athlon Sports article that you think are particularly important for our listeners to understand?
Yeah, one thing that stood out to me was the emphasis on the power dynamics at play within the network.
Yeah.
It wasn't just about the alleged misconduct itself,
right,
but also about the culture that might have allowed it to happen in the first place.
The lawsuit claims that there was a pervasive atmosphere of fear and intimidation, which may have prevented people from speaking out sooner.
Wow.
And if that proves to be true, it raises serious questions about the leadership at Fox Sports and their responsibility to create a safe and respectful workplace.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a crucial point. It's not just about holding individuals accountable for their actions,
right,
but also about examining the systems and structures that might enable or protect those behaviors.
I completely agree. This case could be a real wake-up call for the entire industry. Prompting a deeper examination of workplace culture and the steps needed to ensure that everyone feels safe and respected.
Now, shifting gears a bit, I want to talk about Shannon Sharpe's situation again.
Okay.
He's been very vocal about his frustration with the media's coverage of this story.
Yeah.
Particularly the way his name has been used, even though he's not involved in the lawsuit.
Understandably so.
It highlights the double-edged sword of fame. On the one hand, it gives you a platform to speak your mind and reach a wide audience.
Right.
But on the other hand, It also makes you a target for sensationalism and scrutiny.
Yeah.
Even when you're trying to distance yourself from a controversy.
It makes you think about, how those dynamics play out.
Yeah.
And the responsibility of the media to be fair and accurate.
It raises questions about journalistic ethics.
For sure.
And the responsibility to report fairly and accurately, even when you're covering sensational stories.
It's a tough balance.
Right. And it also makes you think about the power dynamics at play.
Yeah.
Shannon Sharpe, despite being a well-known figure, still felt compelled to publicly defend himself against, insinuations and misleading narratives.
Right. I mean, that says a lot about how these things can play out, even for someone with a platform like his.
It highlights the importance of media literacy and critical thinking.
Absolutely.
As consumers of news, we need to be aware of the potential biases and agendas that might be shaping the information we receive.
Yeah.
Don't just accept headlines at face value.
Right.
Dig deeper, consider multiple sources, and form your own informed opinions.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Okay.
I want to leave our listeners with something to ponder.
Okay.
Given everything we've discussed, what do you think will be the most lasting impact of this lawsuit?
It's like a good question.
Will it be the potential legal consequences for those involved, the ripple effects throughout the sports media industry, or something else entirely?
It's a complex situation with multiple layers and potential consequences.
Yeah.
For me, I think it really reinforces the idea that even in the entertainment industry, accountability and respect are paramount.
Mm-hmm.
We can't overlook the potential for harm.
Right.
And we need to prioritize creating environments where everyone feels safe and valued.
Well said.
Yeah.
And it's a reminder that these issues extend far beyond the world of sports media.
Absolutely.
They're relevant to any workplace, any industry,
Right.
and any individual. It's about treating each other with respect,
Yeah.
speaking up against injustice, and holding those in positions of power accountable for their actions.
I think that's a perfect way to sum it up.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
You got it.
We'll continue to follow this story as it develops and keep you updated on any new information or insight.
Sound the alarm. I'm coming up. We'll have a ball. I'm sweet like a buttercup. You're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till I get enough.